Yo, what up? How's it going? And welcome back. Today's video we'll be doing a VOD review for SKT versus King-ZONE. This is week 4. This is game 2 of the series. So if you missed game 1, I did the game 1 VOD review. Also in the game 1 VOD review, that's where I talked a lot about the Frostmancy stuff. So if you're wondering about the Frostmancy stuff, it is enabled in Korea for this week. It will not be enabled in NA. And I also do not believe it'll be enabled in EU as well. It'll only be in Korea just because the teams voted to have that because they had a whole week that they practiced it. So if you want to hear about the Frostmancy stuff, you can watch the first VOD review I did. So for game 1, I also talked a lot about the bot lane meta on how I think it's going to shape out. I'll talk a little bit about that in this game as well, but if you want to hear more about that, you can just check out the first game VOD review. But anyways, let's talk about this game. So cool, if we just want to look at the first phase bans, looking at King-ZONE's first phase bans, these bans, so when I talk about the draft right now, I'm learning a lot with you guys right now because this is obviously the first set on 9.3. This and the Hanwhan Life and Gen G series. So this is the first set on 9.3. So there's a lot of stuff learning right here about the meta. The only thing I think I have a little bit figured out is the bot lane meta that I don't think King-ZONE and SKT have all that figured out, or at least King-ZONE has figured out that much. So drafting phase, we're going to be learning a little bit together, but we're going to talk through it and kind of make sense out of the draft. So the Tahm Kench ban makes a lot of sense. So the Tahm Kench ban makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it gives you a whole lot of safety in the laning phase and a lot of safety in the late game, as well as Tahm Kench as a pick gives a lot of control over bot river in the early game, and I think a lot of teams are catching on to this, and I've been talking about this for a long time. I think bot river control is so important with like the buffs to the dragon. So I think the buffs to the dragon and mid, bot, and jungle priority, I think is one of the most important things in the game right now, in my opinion. Just when you see drafts, the good teams, when you see the good teams draft around those picks in the early game, it just gives you such an advantage on the game having bot river control, and Tahm Kench is one of the best champions for having bot river control because his maneuverability around level 6 and also the safety in lane. So even if you're a pushing lane, you can feel really safe being Tahm Kench. So Tahm Kench makes a lot of sense, especially when you're banning it, because on blue side you can especially feel really safe and can move around the map on that Tahm Kench pick. So Tahm Kench ban makes a lot of sense. Lee Sin ban is just a tardy ban at Quid. Quid has like one of the cleanest Lee Sins in the world. His Lee Sin is so clean. And the Victor is like basically a scrim god champion, so and was played in the last game. Khan really likes playing Victor, so that ban makes a lot of sense in terms of who they're playing against. And a lot of times on red side you can kind of ban targeted bans if you want anyways, and we're figuring out a lot of the really powerful champions can be left open now because they're all nerfed, except for my main man Urgot, who made it through this time. Cool. Over here we have the Sylas ban. So Sylas has been really highly contested by both of these teams, by King-ZONE and SKT. I mean, last game it was insta-locked by SKT, so obviously they know something from scrims. I think he's a powerful champion in the right circumstances, so that ban right there. The Karma is banned basically for the Frostmancy nonsense. And then Lucian, probably the best marksman on this patch, Lucian along with Ezreal. So the Lucian ban makes a lot of sense because King-ZONE could first pick it there. I would have liked to see King-ZONE ban an Ezreal or take it in the second phase. That would have made a lot of sense to me, but they didn't want to ban the Ezreal or take it for themselves. So, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Cool. All right, let's talk about the King-ZONE's draft. So King-ZONE, they get the Cassio at the first pick, so Cassio is still a really strong champion and gives you a lot of flexibility in the in this patch. So something you want to do on red side that teams always want to do is if there's a really powerful flex champion, you can pick it so this champion can flex to 3 roles, and Deft has shown he can play it as well. So Deft's Cassio is really strong. So it makes a lot of sense to first pick Cassio, so that makes a lot of sense. You know, some people wanted to first pick Ezreal, so this makes a lot of sense. I would have liked to seen them pick Ezreal in the second rotation, but they were maybe wanting to keep that open to threaten the flex the entire time. But I gotta say, I just think Ezreal is so OP on this patch, and I think Kaisa is not quite figured out the build path. I don't want to say she's trash just yet. I don't want to say she's really bad just yet, because I think she can be really good in a lot of circumstances. But I don't think the build path's figured out, and I don't think she's very strong on this patch versus especially how strong Ezreal and Lucian feel. And some of the other crit marksmen that are coming out, like Sivir and Ashe, I think is actually better than Kaisa on this patch. But Kaisa can succeed in certain circumstances, but I would have liked to seen them pick Ezreal here, but I think they were trying to be ambiguous to draft. But anyways, let's talk about what their team comp actually does real quick before we talk about that. So we have the Cassio top. LeBlanc mid, Jax jungle, and our bot lane, Kaisa and Alistair. So we have some decent fighting in the bottom lane. So let's just talk about the bottom lane first. So bottom lane, this bottom lane is going to get pushed in. Does have some kill potential at level 2 and level 6. So I always like to talk about kill potential. It does have some kill potential level 2 and level 6, but definitely not have priority in this lane versus the Ezreal Thresh. But does have some kill potential and can do some things with the jungler. But they are on red side, so they will not be able to have like the wraparound ganks. So they do have some kill potential at 2 and 6, but expect to not have much control of the laning phase or control of the river. Okay, cool. And we talk about the top side. That's a winning matchup for the Cassio. So just straight up a winning matchup for the Cassio in most circumstances. And we have a winning matchup in the mid lane. So a lot of people like to talk about the Lissandra as a counter pick to LeBlanc. So in essence, like, you know, LeBlanc W's in, you root through LeBlanc, you can get your damage in, you don't take a lot of damage, and LeBlanc goes out and you take an even trade. Yeah, but then LeBlanc kind of like controls how the lane goes, because she kind of makes all the decisions on how like mana is, how each of you does the mana trades, and can kind of choose how the lane, how you take damage trades, how you do mana trades, and also just kind of controls the lane. Neither of you have really kill threat on each other. So it's just kind of like a neutralized type of lane. It's not really a counter pick. But generally LeBlanc can kind of have control of the early laning phase, especially with the Lissandra changes to our mana. So LeBlanc generally has control of the early laning phase. Cool. So also in the early laning phase, LeBlanc does offer a lot of LeBlanc and Jax has a lot of 2v2 potential, as well as Lissandra and Jarvan have a lot of 2v2 potential as well. Cool. So let's talk about, so we talked about the individual matchup, so let's talk about what this team comp can actually do. So this is pretty standard team fighting comp. So this team wants to fight with their tank line, kind of front to back. Jax can act as kind of like a pseudo tank. They can do some decent split pushing if they want to. With the Cassio, if they wanted to, they can do some split pushing with some shadowing type of interesting things. But this team has some decent fightings at 2 items with their 2 carries, with these 2 carries right here. But they really want to fight around their 3 item timings with the what is her name? With the Kaisa. I don't know why her name escapes me. And the Jax can look to make plays around mid and top, so it can control the mid and top side, but will not have control of the bot river, which I do not like. I think teams should be drafting around that heavily. I just feel so strongly about that. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I think dragons are worth so much, and just that side of the map is just so worth so much if you can have control of that side of the map. I think mid, bot, and jungle is worth so much. Different scenes of opinion. Some people think top is worth a whole lot, but I think with the nerfs to all the top champions, not worth a whole lot. Anyway, so yeah, their win condition is they have some some team fight win conditions in the mid game with these 2 champions. But if they can get to those 3 item spikes, they actually have some really good team fighting with the Kaisa, so they can play with their tank line, and then Kaisa can obviously get those executes in the back line and can kind of play with the tank line as well. So has some team fight win conditions, and Jax can play around the top and mid really well, but it's going to be a rough time for the Kaisa in the early game. Cool. If we look over at SKT's draft, so let's look at what their draft can actually do. So also pretty standard team fighting comp. So we have, you know, obviously a tank line right here, and engage mid laner, and an Ezreal, obviously. Yeah, so we have a poke champion with the Ezreal and a really good team fighting setup. So this team really comes online at that 1 and 2 item spike, and is going to have control of the bot river. So we'll not have control of the top side. So Jarvan might look to just split the map with the whole bottom side. So we should have control of some of bot river. LeBlanc might have the push on there, but Lysandra can kind of neutralize that lane. So can probably maintain control of the whole bot river. So can look for early dragon control and full pressure for plates with Ezreal. And the stuff that you do with Ezreal is you rotate mid. This is why Ezreal's so OP, is you take plates bottom, you get bottom, you take that lead, you rotate mid, you pressure mid, you get mid tower, you get control over Drake, you take that pressure, you rotate vision control into the enemy's topside jungle, you rotate that vision into the enemy's topside jungle, you can control over that area, you take top tower, you push in the tower, you have control over mid priority with the Ezreal, you have control of top side, and then you can threaten Baron. All the while, they're just like, please let me get, please, Kaisa, please let me get 3 items. So that's what you can do with Ezreal if you can get ahead, so if they can play around that win condition. So KING-ZONE can look to either make plays around their top side or try to shut that down in the early game. And if KING-ZONE can get to their 3 items and kind of stagnate the Ezreal. Ezreal obviously scales really well, but if Ezreal can maintain that punishing lead and taking down the towers, then Ezreal is in a good shape. That's why I think Ezreal is so good on this patch. But anyways, so that's what SKT wants to do, and that's always what you do with an Ezreal. So win conditions for SKT, get the plates bottom. You can look for a fight at that 1-2 item spike. Move your Ezreal to mid, take plates there. You know, catch side waves, move your pressure top mid, get the Drakes while you're at it, control top side, Baron threat, either ace, take Baron, and then keep pressuring the game. So just keep the gas on, don't let them get to that 3-4 item win condition that they want to get to. Ezreal also scales really well, so if you just get that big lead, then they never get to the win condition. KING-ZONE, you want to stagnate that as much as you can, get to your 3-4 item win condition, look for an explosive team fight, with some, you know, Jax flanks, Alistair, Bobby big engages, you know, some big outplays by Pawn, stuff like that. So KING-ZONE's win condition, I think sitting back and scaling with a marksman is so hard to do on this patch, even though with all the crit itemization changes, I think teams haven't, I think that's kind of debating teams a little bit into like, oh, we can invest in the scaling so much now. Yeah, you can, but I also think like bot river control I think is really important, especially with Ezreal. It's so powerful. I mean, you can control that whole entire side of the map. Those dragons, like the dragon advantage is so important. Getting plates and then just transitioning that to getting mid tower and just transitioning that lead across the map is just so easy to do with Ezreal. And we'll see if that pans out this game. I actually don't even remember if that's exactly how this game pans out, but that's exactly what you want to do with this team comp. And you just pick powerful teamfight champions that can supplement the Ezreal. Probably looks like Teddy just 1v9s all the game, or anybody who's playing Ezreal. That's why it looked like Def just 1v9 that last game. That's why it looks like people just 1v9 on Ezreal, because that's just what Ezreal does. Hashtag just Ezreal things. If you can keep your bot lane, if you can keep your Ezreal safe, if you can allow Ezreal to do Ezreal things. That's why like Draven is such a big counter to Ezreal, is because Draven doesn't allow Ezreal to like do that stuff in the laning phase, so it doesn't allow Ezreal to actually get up and running. I guess they have it. Yeah, they had it away on stage. Get up and get the plates and get the lead, and ever get to the point to where he's transitioning mid and has that big lead. I mean, you can get to where you're transitioning mid and you're poking people out and you're taking it on towers, but you're doing that. But the Draven. What the Draven pick will do to that is, instead of coming to the mid lane, now you have a 1k gold lead because you just took all the towers. If the Draven was in the lane, now the Draven has a 1k gold lead, and now, you know, Ezreal doesn't even hurt when he pokes you. So then Ezreal will be behind trying to poke you down in mid lane, rather than he just took all my plates because the enemy's jungler is stronger than me. They had a neutralizing mid lane. They picked a more powerful bot lane. They just shoved us in and took plates all game, and they transitioned and shoved us in and took our mid tower, and then they have a stronger mid game. So Cool. So thing I always like to talk about, I like to talk about jungle pathing. So J4 is starting red. So pretty standard for junglers to start red nowadays. So this is really interesting what J4 does. So J4, what he's going to do, or what he's planning on doing, is just going buff scuttle. So something kind of like that. But there was obviously a call out for the bot lane that there's a possibility of doing a level 2. Boom. That was just a cheesy little gank. That was just probably a call out by Mata or something. They're saying like, hey, these guys look like they want to fight us. Because as I said, there is a kill threat. Like the kill threat window for the Kaisa Alistair lane is about that level 1, level 2 range. So that's the only time that Tucson could go for a trade. So that's just kind of like some game knowledge probably by Mata, where he's like, hey, if you just come bot right now, he's definitely just going to come in for a trade. So so J4 is just going for a full clear. Yeah, Jax comes in behind Faker, and he's dead. Yeah, just a follow flash by Pawn. So not much you can do about that. Just a good gank. Faker instant TP's in, and he feels safe to do that because Quid is just right behind him. So it looks like Quid did buff Raptor's scuttle. Yeah, I figured he'd get his flash off in time. He would have been dead anyways, because would have just flashed onto him. So not much he could do. Do 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 do. And Jax coming down bottom. He's just coming down bottom for the scuttle. Quid looking for a gank. Khan missed the E flash actually there, but then Rascal just kind of gifts a flash. Didn't actually see him in there. So this is a pretty good gank by Quid, because this whole bottom side is cleared. Am I rubber band spawn right now? Yeah, so Jax will get 1 camp in response. He might get the wolves, because he should know that they'll respawn, but he won't greed out for them. So Jax does get 1 camp in response. They didn't actually spot him out doing that, I don't think. But since that pink ward's there, he probably knows that he got invaded. So actually something that's pretty good is KING-ZONE has full vision control of the bot river right now, but it looks like they're actually going to retake control of that. So Jarvan's coming down to retake control of that, so that their bot lane can feel safe to kind of do Ezreal things. So they get vision control inside of the enemy jungle, and just get a little sneak on the dragon. So they push up the lane, and the Jarvan can feel safe to do this because they know the buff spawning and they have vision on it, so they know the jungler's not there. So they feel safe to do that. We get the early Drake, and that's a Mountain Drake on an Ezreal team. Feels good. Yeah, Faker got solo killed there. Nice. Oof, Khan ends a little in the early game. Yeah, so it's a pretty good vision play by SKT though. Faker gets the push on mid lane, and then they just get vision control inside the jungle, so they can see the enemy jungler coming, and they just jump over the wall and hit the dragon, and they jump over the wall so they actually can't be seen taking the dragon until the thresh comes over. But now it's too late, And the LeBlanc's actually doing the no CS nonsense, so that's why she's behind in CS. She bought it late, I believe. That's a visual bug. He didn't actually walk in a lane like that. So Faker should be pushing up the lane right now, and then they're going to trade for blue. He's going to give them blue. They're getting vision control. So this is what J4 is doing. So J4 is wanting to get full vision of bot side so that the Ezreal can continue to just do this, right? So that's the whole point. So I think Kaisa's so bad in the Ezreal, unless you can get a kill somehow onto him. But it's so hard to get a kill on the Ezreal. Like, you have tiny kill threat windows with certain lanes, and that's why it was like so good for Quid to come bottom side. to like shut down like the tiny kill threat window that the Kaisa Alistair lane might have. So that's why that was really good for him to come down for that cheesy gank. Oh, this was hilarious. Pawn plays really good here. Yeah, Faker should not have flashed that wall. He should have just waited right there because Quid was going to kill him with the Q unless Pawn went all the way back. So that was really bad. Then maybe Cuz was going to kill him. Oh, and he had to execute there. Yeah, I think it shows a replay. Maybe Cuz was going to kill Faker. Maybe that's why he had to. But that looked pretty bad. Faker has a pretty bad game. Let's see. Yeah, Faker was, Cuz was going to kill Faker. So I guess he did have the flash. Yeah, I guess he did have the flash. But it kind of looks silly in the moment. But yeah, just good play by Pawn. But yeah, look, Jarvan just wants to babysit his bot lane. Doesn't actually have to do anything in the lane. He just has to make sure the Jax can't actually do much. But Ezreal's so good on red side. Because there's no threat of anybody wrapping around him. Oh, this is the TP play. Yeah, so Cassio's really low on mana. I think she only has time to get one. Yeah, actually, she gets one Q and 2 Twin Fangs on. And then the R is inside of him. So figures just get a little bit of extra damage on there. They actually get the Rift Herald right there. Did Ezreal TP in that fight? It'll show the replay. No, Ezreal just stayed bottom. Oh, wow. If it doesn't show a replay, I'll rewind. Because actually, oh, plate gold. See, now you'll see teams just insta-spawn Rift Herald. And the reason why you insta-spawn Rift Herald is you just want plate gold. Also, the extra damage in mid tower is going to be nice. That's like really good plate gold. So the Ezreal got the mid tower, so now they're just going to transition the Ezreal to mid lane. Are they going to re-show that? Yeah, so they're just going to transition Ezreal to mid lane and have Drake control. And they're just going to have full Drake control until it's time that they want to have Baron and topside control. That's how you play the Ezreal comp, dude. It's so easy. Okay, let me turn it to normal speed. Ezreal is so good. Okay, so Khan just looking away the whole time. I'm not about to get ulted. He gets the ult in the Cuz. And then he flashes. So we know he has the ult in the Cuz. Oh, he just E's. So Rascal's only able to get 2 Twin Fangs off, and then he can't help. Imagine if he has 4 mana, he might be able to do something. He might be able to just run them down, maybe. I think Khan just one-shots the... Oof. Oof. All the while, like, the Kaisa's like, I'm helping. Was she running up the whole time? What was she doing? Oh, yeah, she was just walking up. There's a 0% chance Kaisa gets into that fight. I don't know why she was even walking. I don't know if she can defend the tower anyways, but it just seems weird. Yeah, it feels bad. Just good play by SKT, I guess. They just had that one ward. I think Kaisa drafts are so bad. I think they're so bad on this patch. I think you either got to ban Ezreal or pick something like Sivir, or Ashe, something that can actually, maybe not Sivir. I think Sivir's pretty good on this patch, because she actually has the ability to like match the Ezreal wave clear in the mid lane. Like as soon as she gets her first item, she can actually, I mean, you still kind of get that pushed in nonsense. You can match like the lane phase and can have some kill threat and can match the poke, right? I think Ashe might be better. I think Ashe is a pretty good pick. I honestly think Ashe is a good pick. I'll have to see actually how pros play. I obviously haven't seen scrims or anything. You know, I'm obviously not involved with teams or anything like that, so I haven't seen on the professional level. But I think Ashe and Sivir are good picks. I think they can be good picks in Ezreal too. I think it kind of you can easily clear the wave, and like Ashe gets lane priority really easily. and has a lot of fighting potential early with her build path. I think you still go Bork on her. I think that's still the best build path. So they're just trading bot for top, which is fine for SKT because there's no Drake up. So they're like, okay, we'll take top tower. So whenever we want to transition our pressure to the top side, we can. And so they just transition vision control to top side while they were taking the top tower. And so they'll probably reset their vision for bottom side, I would think, because the next objective they probably want is Cloud. So the next objective they'll probably want is Cloud. So they'll probably have like a temporary 1-3-1 just to catch waves. But that's just for minion management, not necessarily for like what their team necessarily wants to do. Their team wants to team fight, but they want to just have control over this map and get the dragon, and then have control over the map. Pressure in on the inner towers, and then Baron whenever they want to, and then look for that like fight, right? So threaten Baron, and look for the fight soon. So they'll get next Drake by getting vision control around this quadrant. To keep pressuring the inner towers. So they'll want to maintain pressure on the inner towers, right? And then after they have this next quadrant, they'll transition their vision to this quadrant. And they can either look for a fight in that quadrant and threaten Baron. Yeah, so they're either looking for a fight and threatening Baron at the same time. So King-Zone is going to always have to be kind of like face checking in the fog. Face checking in the fog or fighting for vision is something that they're going to be having to do. So SKT can force them into that negative situation now. So now they'll want to transition their vision control to top side, and Lissandra will be catching bottom waves because she has a TP. She can TP into a fight if they want. So SKT do want to get that vision control on top side and look for a fight soon, or just get the Baron if they're just not going to even contest them. So SKT is definitely in the driver's seat right now because this Kaisa is on Essence Reaver, and that's it. So feels bad. Key thing is if King-Zone's comp can get the 4 items, they can maybe do something. But you know. But like if SKT just keeps the gas on, then we'll be good. See, this is what NA teams are so bad about, is they don't keep the gas on. They just like keep they don't choke teams out. They just trade farm evenly whole game. It's pretty weird. Yeah. Ezreal's just catching a wave up there, but he'll probably lane swap back to mid. He doesn't want to be topside. He wants to be mid. He wants that mid priority. So we see Ezreal built a Maw rather than getting a second tier. The reason why he built that is because Kaisa does nothing right now. And Ezreal dying would be really detrimental to their team. So the only chance of him dying is getting one shot by LeBlanc or Cassio. So yeah, so they're just gonna like move in as a team, get vision, and while Ezreal gets priority, Ezreal feels safe because he's literally Ezreal. And I know I talk a lot about always talk about the team from the advantage because I like to talk about from the team from the driver's seat, and I still talk a little bit about the team that's from behind. Like I try to talk about what they can do to get ahead, but King-Zone is a little bit at pigeonholed, is they're just really trying to get the item times, and they got so crushed in the early game that it's really tough. Like the gold difference doesn't do it justice because like the champion difference on like where the champions are powerful and where the items are powerful. I've seen this before. They just had Pawn dancing around the map, but SKT are in position to just collapse. Position to collapse. Okay, this is a big team fight. This team fight looked kind of funny. So SKT wants a team fight. So as long as they can get in position where they want, this is what they want. So this was a zoning ultimate by Mata. It looked really weird in the moment. I don't think it was good because it didn't actually do anything because Khan's actually here. So this is zoning ultimate actually doesn't do anything. Like, it actually doesn't do anything because Khan's actually just gonna walk into them and die. So Khan was zoning them by themselves. Oh, we'll just watch the fight. But basically, you just peel Teddy and you win these fights. Teddy is so strong, and the Lissandra passive is so OP. That was a good flash. Good flash by Faker. Just peel Teddy. Peel Teddy, he wins all your fights. That's the fight they wanted. Yeah, he almost kills him there. Yeah, this fight breaks out. Yeah, the zoning ultimate didn't like really do. The thought was there, but it didn't really do anything because like, what's his face was already there. Khan was already zoning. We'll just grab the dragon and then re-transition back to choking out the top quadrant. Yeah, so King-Zone just re-established vision on this top side, so SKT at least have to clear it out. And then, yeah. They're responding to bottom side, so now they can actually threaten Baron. Okay, so Sandra's going to push out top side, and they're just going to try to re-get vision control inside of King-Zone's jungle. So that's what they're doing now. And now they can threaten Baron. They have 2 mountains. 2 mountains and a J4. J4 helps with Baron clear. Pretty good. Oof. Oof. Doesn't matter, his ult will be back in 5 seconds. Yep. Yeah, so SKT is just going to do this Baron dance until they get another good fight, or they catch King-Zone at a bad recall timing and they can just rush down the Baron. That's all they're trying to do. And then King-Zone is just trying their best to... What King-Zone's only win condition is get Kaisa and Cassio to 4 items. So what they're trying to do best is just keep SKT from getting Baron. So be annoying as possible to try to get them from not getting Baron, and then Kaisa get 4 items and hopefully win a team fight. So it's a pretty narrow win condition, and it requires SKT to make mistakes, honestly. So you think Kaisa into an Ezreal lane this patch, if you get behind, is really bad. On this patch specifically. So Urgot has the bottom wave pushed in. So Urgot can look for a TP. Or he's just going to walk all the way up. Okay, he's just going to walk all the way up and get mid priority. Oh yeah, this is when Faker ints. He actually doesn't get his ult off there. That's okay. King-Zone can't actually do anything with that, but that was mostly an int play by Faker. His team actually didn't have any follow-up because Mana used all of his cooldowns to try to save Quid. So kind of an int play. Maybe could have looked for like a Bobby big flash ult. Yeah, and then we'll see a replay on how this actually broke out in a second. But essentially, Def just took a Killer Instinct into a Thresh, and then Ezreal TP'd in and one-shot her because she took 3 tower hits. And now the game's over. They'll trade Mountain, which is the best that they can get from that. Faker will just Baron up the minions here. So Faker ints, and you win the game. Yeah. So this is what this game this game goes on like maybe a little bit longer than it should have, but overall really clean. Like really clean actually. I can't think of too many things they should have done differently, except for like some individual int plays by Faker this game, honestly, by some SKT members. But like the transition of the vision control around the objectives that they want is something that SKT does really well this game, and it's exactly what an Ezreal comp does. They just like the mid priority that you get with Ezreal is so powerful. Like if you can get ahead, and that's exactly what this comp does, and that's exactly why people talk about how long NA games are, and they talk about the NA ARAM. That's exactly what they're talking about is like the lack of like the lack of control winning teams have around the things that they want. And it's really simple. So you just kind of know your champions and what your champion's limitations are. Playing to your champion's limitations, and when you're in the driver's seat of the game, playing around the objectives that you want, and then like getting side lane control, or like side lane management. So every time that they wanted something, they had the weak side of the, or the opposite side of the map pushed in. They had the opposite side of the map pushing. SKT did. Ooh. They had the opposite side of the map pushing. Ooh, he almost gets deft in the fountain. They had the opposite side pushing, and then they had a person pushing in the top side, and the Ezreal having, or not the top side, but that's the side of the map that they wanted pressure on. They had a person actively in that lane, right? They had a person actively in that lane, and then Ezreal just solo priority, because that's what that champion does when he's ahead. And then the jungler and the support, or maybe the other laner, if they're not actually in the lane at that moment, moving around the jungle, actually getting that vision control, so that the enemy team is the one having to check fog, or the one having to check fog around the side of the jungle where the epic objective is that they want. So around the objective that they want, they have full control of at all times. So they just back and get the Elder, and then they're going to go get the Baron, and they're going to end the game. So just not going for the 50-50, like, let's fight at the Nexus. They're just full queen play. There's 0% chance or anything. Deft has to go for that play, but there's like a 2% chance that works out. But they're just gonna kill the Baron now, and the game will be over. GG, fellas. Oh no. Yep. So overall, this, I don't want to say this game was completely won in the draft, because you could be a bad team and take this draft and lose, because you have to be able to SKT, but you can't draft this way against SKT because they know how to play around the mid game. Like, SKT is really good. I've done a bunch of VOD reviews on SKT. They know how to play around the mid game vision control really well. They choke out teams when they have a lead really well, and that's exactly what they drafted for, is Ezreal with mid priority, especially on this patch and on 9.2. Can get such good mid priority, and once you're in the lead, you can just choke out vision control. Let's pause it on Teddy, the man, the myth, the legend. There's Teddy. You can just choke out vision control to where the enemy is always checking in the fog and don't have a chance of getting on the epic objectives that you want. So SKT is so good at doing that. So you really can't draft in a way of doing this. But if against SKT specifically, and another good thing to note that was really good that SKT did in this game specifically is stuff that Mata and Quid did at level 1. Is the jungle pathing that Quid did when he did red, and they just went straight bottom lane. And that was mostly probably stuff that Mata was calling out, that Mata was calling out, that was like, hey, in this lane, the only time, or in this lane, if they have a chance of winning this lane, Alistair's going to go in for some trades at level 1 or level 2, if they want to have a chance of actually fighting back in this lane. So if you just level 2 gank us, we'll kill them all. So that was a really heads up play by Mata. And as soon as they got that play, I assume Mata, I'm just guessing Mata, because he obviously plays the lane and he's the shot caller of the team, or is what people say. So that was a really heads up play when they did the level 2 gank bottom, on the level 1 bottom lane, and they insta-kill them, and that laning phase is over. And for the rest of the game, all J4 had to do was make sure they didn't get ganked, so Ezreal could just get a huge lead, transition that lead mid, and then the rest is history. Just maintain vision control, vision control around the dragon, vision control around the Baron. Look for fights in the mid game. Get to fight in the mid game. If you don't get to fight in the mid game, threaten Baron. They come to Baron, kill them all. So pretty clean game by SKT. Really, really, really good to see. So anyways, we're going to do game number 3. But that one was really fun. Thank you so much for watching. I'll put this into my video encoder. Get it uploaded to YouTube. I'm going to stop doing that voice. Anyways, hey, thank you so much for watching. I really, really, really enjoy doing these VOD reviews. It's really refreshing to watch SKT. And I'm having a blast doing these. So anyways, thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, bye-bye. Can you find the stop recording button? Bye-bye. 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 I don't know what this outro is. What am I doing? Okay, bye-bye.